This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benneroff, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening, who are the newsmakers, what's in store for the future. The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. White Plains, Westchester, and the world, and all of you who are afraid out there. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. And I'm John Bailey, the Citizen Net Reporter. Peter Katz, the anchor for all seasons, White Plains Week, the City News Roundup show. And right now, to the headlines for the week of the last week of February, actually, come out. And
today is February 24th as we record this program.
Thank you for that. I mean, I lose track of time sometimes. The city holds a public hearing on converting a Prospect Park home into a group home. The community leans in. 70 persons attend a forum on County Executive Robert Astorino's plan to lease the county airport for 40 years to fill a $15 million county budget deficit in the current year. Councilwoman Milagros Lacuna, now running for mayor, takes up the fire department's issues on manpower, safety, and equipment concerns. She'll hold a press conference Saturday morning at fire headquarters at 11 a.m. County Executive Robert Astorino will hold a town hall meeting in White Plains City Hall Monday evening at 7 p.m. More than 100 protest the president's illegal immigrant revised executive order in downtown White Plains. It's hard to keep track of those orders, you know. Now, Chief Justice of New York State Court of Appeals, Janet DeFiore, local girl made good, vows to slash waits for trials in state courts at her second State of the Judiciary address in the Bronx Hall of Justice. Governor Cuomo unleashes a strong challenge to President Trump's revised executive order on illegal immigrants. We will have our ongoing Trump the President report from Peter Katz, the only report of its kind to our knowledge on what the president does every week. 7 new planets, possibly similar to Earth, are discovered 40 light years away. Developers, take note. The new New York Bridge is just a short distance from joining both sides of the Hudson and joining them on time. No traffic relief in sight, however. The Continuum Apartments on 55 Bank Street near their top floors. George Washington's birthday is celebrated Sunday, 1 to 3 at Purdy House. And there must be at least 5,000 people attending that Purdy House party Sunday because we have given it a lot of publicity.
Well,
okay,
John,
so
you can take full credit.
I will take full credit
if anyone shows up.
It's a great thing. Now, let's go to the White Plains Week Rollo Newsreel March of Time, and that is 22 New York Avenue South in the Prospect Park neighborhood. The city held a hearing for the community on the conversion of 22 North Avenue into a group home to be run by the Institute for Applied Human Dynamics. It would house 14 disabled persons. White Plains' Richard Leibson, reporting for the Journal News, wrote, "The city had few options under the law. Writing writing that the city could object on grounds there was a concentration of similar facilities in the area. There are 35, Liebson reported, or suggest other sites, or reject it on grounds that the nature and character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered. In a letter to the city, the Prospect Park Association wrote the proposal is considerably larger than most contemporary group residences and has the footprint of a commercial operation, Parrish the thought, create unquestionably serious safety concerns. This hearing will be continued. It was mentioned in the article it would be continued Monday, but I don't see how it can with Astorino at City Hall. You know, we'll have to check on that. So find out when that hearing is, folks. But now, and next slide, please. The Journal News and the Journalism and Environmental Studies Boards of Study at Purchase College presented two speakers who brought 70 persons up to date on the county executive's proposal to lease the Westchester County Airport, shown lower right. Carolyn Cunningham, upper left, of the Federated Conservationists of Westchester County, recounted the history of the airport, expressed concern as to why a deal for the airport was presented. David McKay Wilson, upper right, the intrepid Journal News tax reporter, in the upper right, was up to date, pointing out that the comprehensive plan for the airport is already late. It was due in December, and now Mr. Wilson says it will be in April. He also pointed out that the garage, the most lucrative operation at the airport, earning $10 million a year, is scheduled to revert to county ownership in 2024. Oaktree, the proposed lessor, has control over the rates the garage charges and earns $10 million a year, with $3 million going to the developer. Whether that would continue has not been answered. So that is an intriguing issue about where does the revenues from the airport go and the details.
Well, this was just a forum that was held just to discuss the issues. It has absolutely no bearing on anything in terms of what they're doing. The county did agree to put out a request for proposals. There were objections raised by the Board of Legislators that this was a no-bid deal on a very important piece of county property. And so now they have backed off, or the county executive's office backed off somewhat, and so they're seeking other proposals, and we may be back to square one. We'll have to see how many proposals come in, what they do with these requests for proposals, and see where it goes. Right now, I mean, we have to point out that right now the airport is managed by a commercial operator whose experience is in running airports. In the past, it had been run by the county itself with county employees. Now, it's different. So, in essence, you're trading one commercial operator for another commercial operator. Right. And there are those who say that if you're going to do that, you've got to look at the money and you've got to come up with the best financial deal for the county. Right.
Mary Jane Shimsky, the county legislature who attended, said the Board of Legislators is very concerned that the limit of 240 passengers per half hour, no landings after midnight, all important county control of the airport might be lost in any final agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration. In politics, Councilwoman Milagros Lacuna will hold a news conference Saturday at 11 a.m. to discuss fire safety issues, lack of training opportunities for firemen, manpower shortages, and what she observes as inadequate risk assessment.
Now, why is she doing this? She's doing it because she's running for mayor.
Right.
She intends that if she does not get the Democratic City Committee's nomination for mayor, to run a primary against Mayor Roach, who is generally anticipated to be the one who will receive the nod from the Democratic City Committee.
Yeah. And County Executive Robert Astorino is coming to White Plains for a town meeting. Perhaps you got this flyer in the mail at City Hall Monday night at 7 p.m.
In the email, you would have gotten that.
Well, I got that flyer.
It's floating all over the internet these days. It is 7 p.m. Monday at City Hall. I am told from a contact in the county executive's office they expect a very, very large turnout. Also, White Plains residents will be given priority when it comes to seating and when it comes to asking questions of
Do
the
we have to
county
show
executive.
proof of residency at White Plains?
I'm not sure how they're going to do that. You
Do you
might,
have to
I don't know.
do papers? You have to show papers.
I don't know whether
That's
you
a security issue.
Whether maybe you have to produce a passport. I don't know.
A passport, yes. Bring your passports. They'll be checked.
I don't know. But anyway, you know, John, there's another battle shaping up between the County Board of Legislators and the County Executive, this time over legislation introduced by Democrat Catherine Borgia, which would prohibit Westchester County Police from doing the work of federal immigration officers and rounding up immigrants. The issue came up at a President's Day rally in White Plains.
About 150 to 200 people assembled at the fountain at Main and Mamaroneck in downtown White Plains on President's Day to protest Donald Trump's immigration policies and show support for a free press, free speech, and the Constitution, against the background of Trump's travel ban and calling the news media the enemy of the people. This is the fourth time a coalition of activist groups in Westchester inspired a turnout in White Plains for what they call Justice Monday rallies. County legislator Catherine Borgia was one of the speakers. She talked about the immigration protection plan she introduced in the Board of Legislators. The legislation would prohibit Westchester County Police and other county resources from being used to perform immigration enforcement for the federal government.
The majority of the Board of Legislators, and I'm hopeful that some, including some Republicans, believe that this is a sensible piece of legislation, a good practice for Westchester County to sort of stay in our lane and continue our progressive policing that we do in Westchester County. But we do anticipate that that Rob Astorino, our county executive, who's very closely allied with President Trump, is going to veto this measure.
I asked Borgia about Astorino's recent visit to a Muslim school in Yonkers in which he denounced religious discrimination.
We appreciate when Rob reaches out to all of Westchester constituencies, and the message that he gave inside the school was very inclusive, saying that Westchester is not going to discriminate based on a religious test. However, what he said outside of the school was that he supports the ban that specifically targets Muslim immigrants. So the problem I see with our county executive is not only that he speaks out of both sides of his mouth, but the whether or not his heart is pure, I don't know, but his actions actually don't support an inclusive and representative Westchester County.
New York State Assemblyman David Buchwald of White Plains was there with his young daughter.
I think it's great that White Plains is a center of a movement to help, convey to, national audience that we're not going to stand for discrimination, especially when it comes from government. But this is my first one I'm able to attend because most Mondays I'm in Albany. But I really feel like a little bit of our city can be dedicated to free speech, and that's clearly what's happened downtown right here in the heart of White Plains.
The event had personal meaning for New York State Senator George Latimer.
My grandfather on my father's side was an immigrant from Ireland, John James Latimer, and he came from County Derry. My great-grandfather on my mother's side came from a rural area outside of Naples. His name was Donato Mainero. And when they came to the United States, they were not greeted with open arms. They were greeted with signs that said, Nina, no Irish need apply. They were greeted with the phrase WAP, which meant without papers. So 100 years later, the son and grandson of those two immigrants are standing here. And to me, I see the issues as the same now as they were then. Do you or do you not express prejudice against people because they're different from you? The fear in those days of Italian and Jewish and Irish and Asian immigrants was that they would change America. Well, they've made America stronger and better over these 100 years. And I think we have the same question asked today. Are we going to be afraid of immigration, or are we going to have the same prejudice that our country had 120 years ago, or are we going to learn from this experience and say that people who come here to take advantage of liberty and work hard, that they too can be Americans? And I think that's the way we have to look at this.
And John, my prediction is we're going to continue to see this kind of grassroots activism right here in Westchester and White Plains.
It has to be done. And speaking of activism, the Trump administration has been active. It's time for Trump the President.
Well, okay. On Wednesday, President Trump brought some of his economic advisors together at the White House for lunch and a meeting on the economy and the federal budget. At the lunch were Reince Priebus, the chief of staff, Steve Bannon, Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, Gary Cohn, director of the National Economic Council, Steve Mnuchin, Treasury Secretary, Mike Mulvaney, director of the Office of Management and Budget, and OMB staffers Russ Vought and Emma Doyle. Before lunch was served, the news media was invited in, and Trump read some remarks in which he blamed President Obama for leaving him a mess, conveniently forgetting to note that the economy has recovered from the Great Recession, and just about every economic indicator these days is positive. The Dow Jones itself keeps soaring to record levels. Trump also did a little ad-libbing, some of which was rambling and lacked cohesiveness.
I want to congratulate Steve Mnuchin as our new Secretary of the Treasury. He's going to be outstanding. Tremendous track record. He has a tremendous track record. I have great confidence in him. So we're going to continue on, and we're going to take this budget, which is, in all fairness, I've only been here for 4 weeks, so I can't take too much of the blame for what's happened. But it is absolutely out of control, and we're going to do things that are going to be tremendous over the years. We have to take care of our military. I have no choice. We have to take care of our military. It needs work. It's very depleted, and we have to take care of a lot of other things. Healthcare is moving along nicely. It's being put into final forms. As you know, before we do the tax, which is actually very well finalized, but we can't submit it until the healthcare, statutorily or otherwise. So we're doing the healthcare. Again, moving along very well. Sometime during the month of March, maybe mid to early March, we'll be submitting something that I think people will be very impressed by. And with that, we're going to have a little meeting, and I think the press knows pretty much all of the people at the table. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
NBC News reports that White House Chief of Staff Priebus tried to interfere in the FBI's investigation into contacts between Russia and the Trump campaign. The FBI's deputy director refused to go along, according to NBC News. White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon mocked the media for how it portrayed the campaign and, quote, how they portrayed the transition, and now they're portraying the administration, saying it's always wrong. He made a speech Thursday at the Conservative Political Action Committee meeting in Washington. He pointed to the reporters in the room and referred to them as the opposition party. Bannon, as you know, ran the right-wing organization Breitbart News before he joined with Trump. Trump Television is now on the internet. On Wednesday evening, this Trump website posted fake video supposedly being fed live from the site of the Dakota Pipeline protest. It was a loop of a few seconds of fire played over and over and over again, and they claimed it was live. A mainstream media accountability survey has been posted on the Republican Party's website as well as Trump's own website. MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News are each singled out in questions, with the survey asking if the organizations are trusted when it comes to Trump. The survey, which refers to Trump's administration as a movement, begins by asking, do you believe that the mainstream media has reported unfairly on our movement? It asks about a dozen questions, all of them loaded to evoke anti-media answers. And after you've answered the questions, it asks you to make a contribution.
Always asking for money.
The majority of American voters say they trust the media more than they trust Trump, according to a new Quinnipiac University poll. The survey asked participants if they relied on the media or Trump to tell you the truth about important issues. The survey found that 52% of voters trusted the media over Trump. Only 37% said they trusted Trump. Trump, as you know, often refer to the media as enemies and as producing fake news. No fake news here, though.
Oh, no.
Quinnipiac also finds only 38% approve of Trump's performance to date. The website Axios reports Trump may be kicking the can down the road on infrastructure investment and may not be doing anything on his campaign promise of a $550 billion infrastructure rebuilding program until 2018 at the earliest. They keep pulling a veil of secrecy over what they're doing at the White House. White House visitors' logs, waivers of ethics regulations, and a host of other records have disappeared in all 31 databases. Reporting legally mandated White House reports have disappeared. Homeland Security Chief John Kelly says there will not be mass deportations of immigrants, but White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer not only refused to confirm that what Kelly said was correct, he launched into a diatribe about how important it is to deport people who the administration says should be deported. The ban on
Why are we still here?
The ban on private prisons put into effect by the Obama administrations has been lifted by the new Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Yeah.
The Trump administration says the Justice Department and the Education Department are going after the rights of school children, and they are doing that at first by removing bathroom protections offered to transgender children.
You know,
have you had enough
of all the issues in all this country, that is one of their priorities.
They should focus on.
This is really sick.
Anyway, turning the page now, back to something slightly more local. Governor Cuomo announced at a news conference in Haverstraw yesterday, Thursday, that New York's county executives will be given the authority to come up with a joint plan working together to reduce local property taxes. He noted that Westchester has the highest property taxes in the country, and he said the state-imposed tax cap has made a difference, but not enough of a difference. Wednesday, at a rally on the Bronx campus of Montefiore's Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Cuomo sounded like someone running either for re-election as governor, you think?
Or president of Russia, who knows?
Or president of the U.S.,
yes,
you think?
Yes,
or maybe both, as he blasted the Republican effort to appeal and replace Obamacare and announced that there will be a $50 million state investment in Montefiore, which now counts White Plains Hospital as among its facilities.
We have invested and built the best health care system on the planet. We're not going to lose it now. It is a major economic engine for us. So I have two messages. First, to the Democrats in Congress. They better stand up, and they better fight, and they better show us what they're made of, because there is no going back. They have to learn. They have to learn. They have to stand up and learn from what the Republicans did when they didn't agree with something. And the Republican Congress fought Bill Clinton every step of the way. And the Republican Congress fought Barack Obama every step of the way, and these Democrats have to take a page out of their book and say, we're not going to let you take us backwards. You're not going to undo the progress that President Obama made that was upheld by the courts. It's time to stand up and show us what you're made of. This is not a time to make a deal. It's not a time to get political. It's a time to get principled and remember who you are and who sent you there and who you represent and who you're fighting for and what the Democrats are all about and what the people of the state demand and what the people of this nation demand. And the second message is, while they're in Washington trying to tear down what we built, we're going to build it stronger in New York. They're trying to tear it down, and we're going to build it anew, and we're going to build it higher. You think Montefiore is great now? You ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to get stronger. We're going to get bigger. We're going to get bolder. We're going to get brighter. We're going to take this year, the state of New York is going to invest another $50 million in Montefiore and the workforce here because we believe in you, and we're going to be stronger than ever, and we're going to do that together.
Wow.
Well, what did Chuck Schumer have to say to that? Have we heard anything from Chucky? Have we heard him at all? Anyway.
I don't know, but, you know, it's worth pointing out at this point.
Schumer is a weak
That
suit.
one thing that Cuomo is going to point to as a great accomplishment is nearing completion. And I know you took a look at the new Tappan Zee Bridge just a couple of days ago.
We went over on Sunday, and that's a look at it from the White House, the lighthouse on the left side in Kingsland Point Park. And you can see the gap there right in the middle of the bridge. Next shot, please. A little closer look. And you can see they are so close.
The roadway is now taking shape. They are hanging it from the cables. Right. And it really looks at this point as if they're on schedule. I mean, this thing is nearing complete, or it's getting closer to completion.
Well, look, I think this is a great achievement. They have really pushed it, and it's looking very nice. Now, the shock of the week is NASA announced that there are 7 new planets. Yes, there they are up front, and there's Dr. Zarkov and Flash Gordon zeroing in.
They're 40 light years away, so you'd have to travel pretty fast to get to them, even in 40 years.
And where is the faster than the speed of light rocket that we could have developed over the last 30 or 40 years?
The significance is that these planets, many of them appear to be in a zone which would be temperate, which would allow for life to exist.
Yes, if we compare the two solar systems.
And they appear to have liquid water, or some of them may. So there's something to be explored, definitely.
The next shot shows the various densities, and the key thing about these planets is they're very close to this dwarf star, and they rotate around them very quickly in orbit. So that is why they compare nicely.
If there is life on those planets, eventually the signal of White Plains Week will reach there.
Yes,
and so we'll have
a
much larger
40
audience.
years from now.
But right here in White Plains, they have been making great progress on 55 Bank Street.
Right there.
This is Louis Capelli's construction company. I mean, it's not his project, but his construction company is doing it. They've already almost hit the top floor of this. I think they have about 2 floors to go.
And they're putting on the siding.
The curtain is going up on the building, all the glass and so forth.
Yeah,
great progress there.
Great progress.
We do need very quickly to give one more plug to the thing over at Purdy House. It's this coming Sunday, Feb 26, George Washington's birthday. It's a celebration. It's a very colorful thing, educational, and a nice community experience.
And the talk this week is going to be on George Washington's conflict with Thomas Paine, writer of Common Sense, which should be interesting. And I will see you on the radio Tuesday morning on WVOX.
AM radio, 1460 on your AM dial. Remember AM radio?
Yeah, wow. Those were the days, and still are. John Bailey, Peter Katz for Jim Beneroff. Good night for White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week. News and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.